Mm-hmm.
Closes at 9.
God.
So we'd be playing with fire there. Like if we were done at 7:55, it'd be fine. But if we're not done till 8:15, then no.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a place near Zilker called Uncle Billy's,
Mm-hmm.
which the barbecue's average, but they also brew their own beer. So a lot of times I go there because it's not usually that crowded and it's easy just to get a group together.
Mm-hmm.
So unless I come up with another plan, that's an easy default. So my attempt is going to be to try to leave here by 1.
And what I'm gonna do, I gotta run home and grab something,
Okay.
and then I'll meet you at your place.
So you're just gonna leave here right after the show?
What I'll probably do is I'll put up a podcast and I'll bolt.
Then we'll
Yeah.
works.
God. Go ahead and text me your address right now. So I have it and I can just. We got 2 minutes. Alright. Let's test these.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Let's make sure.
That you're actually functioning.
Test 1 2. Yeah, it's only
1, 2, 3,
one
4,
ear,
5,
but I can.
6.
It's better
I don't
than
understand why, to be honest.
better than nothing though.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
I'm afraid to touch it at this point.
Right.
So we can work on it again at some point. Actually, you know what wouldn't be too bad?
How to sing blues, baby. Shot glass in your hand.
Yes, y'all. Great story
It ain't hard to sing
from
blues,
the
baby.
now fully operational Dave Campbell's Texas Football headquarters in Carrollton, Texas. It's DCTF Live, the only internet show with the courage to tell you that we have a Papa Shot in our office and we don't care who knows. My name is Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football and TexasFootball.com. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. I am sitting here, and sitting over there is Max Thompson. Maximus.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's no complaints.
We're spending a lot of time on the road coming up. We can't tell
Yeah.
you where we're going, but
A lot of driving around
a lot of driving around
48 hours.
to do things for the magazine. So
Yeah.
get
Too much
excited.
driving.
Yes. So that's coming up here in a minute. Today's Wednesday, April 27th, 2016, episode 121. 121. This one pains me to say. 121, the number of hits that Ruben Mateo had as Texas Ranger. Ruben Mateo was supposed to be
The big deal.
the guy.
Yeah.
And then he broke his leg running to first base. And that was it for him. 121 hits is all he got. That's it hurts my heart. Hurts my heart 10, 15 years later. A little bit later, everybody loves the NFL draft, which starts tomorrow. I tolerate the NFL draft. It's
You
fine.
and I tolerate the NFL
when
draft.
it arrives, I will watch it.
Yeah.
But I also here's the other thing. We'll get into the NFL draft in a minute. And we've got a bunch of headlines to roll through that is coming up in just a moment. We had big storms roll through the DFW area, kind of. So
Kind of.
all we had heard all day yesterday
Huge storm.
was, hey,
Hold on to your butts.
you're going to want to get home and you're going to want to buckle up, Buttercup.
Buckle up, buddy.
Because it's going to
be bad.
It's about to go down. It's about to get lit, you know?
Baseball-sized hail.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait. Well, it's golf, but still golf ball.
And I'll tell you when I first got the feeling that it wasn't going to be so bad, because I got I was reading all the stuff online. They were saying, all right, it's going to hit our area between about 7 and 8, and between about 7 and 8, it's going to be hellfire and brimstone. It's going to be terrible. And then like I looked at it and they're like, oh, actually, like it's going to be between about like 9 and 10, something like that. And then I was like, oh, it's going to be maybe like 10 and 11. And then it finally arrived. So it's already late. And I'm like, all right, I've been waiting for you. I was worried the Rangers were going to get their game in. They did, and they won. So it finally arrives. And don't get me wrong, it was a good storm. I mean, it lightninged a lot. There was one lightning bolt that legitimately made me jump. But overall, I feel like that was much ado about nothing, but you made the point to me, and you're an Iowan, so you know storms.
I have dealt with some awful, awful, terrible, scare you to death crap.
As an Iowan, you don't have expertise in much.
Yeah.
But you do have expertise in storms.
Pork chops, corn, and storms.
That's basically it.
That's
yes.
basically it, yeah. What amazes me is there's this thing, I'm sure it happens in other cities, but I feel like it's more pronounced here in DFW, especially like watching on Twitter. The weathermen getting just horrific abuse for saying, be careful, there might be a very bad storm. And then there not being a bad storm, and everyone being like, how about you warn us next time there's actually a real storm? This is crap.
Yeah.
As not to defend weathermen, because I understand, but as the guy who has lived through 3 tornadoes, I am just thankful. Thank you for warning me, making sure I'm ready, and thank God it wasn't worse. Thank you. That's fine. I don't care how much you scare me. I don't care how prepared I am and how much my night was wasted. Thank you, Storm, for falling apart at the last second. Because when it doesn't, it's awful.
And that's I think I'm with you here. That for me, weather seems like the kind of thing that you should always err on the side of caution for. Like,
right.
because if it's not bad, Good. Yay.
Yes.
Very good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can't fault somebody for telling me, hey, we're looking at this and our projections say that there is a probability that it's going to be bad. So let's prepare for that probability. Okay? If I were to tell you...
Why is there anything wrong with that, you know?
That's basically like saying that you don't want to wear a seatbelt because,
I didn't crash tonight.
98% of the time I don't crash.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but what about those 2% that you do?
All you idiots telling me I needed to wear a seatbelt tonight.
Yeah,
Guess what? I got home fine.
I agree with that. I agree with the idea that we shouldn't be giving weathermen abuse for doing their job.
Yeah.
Right?
And I don't know. The whole thing just drives me crazy. And I'm of two minds because I am with you in the sense that oh, hey, Storm, you didn't pan out to be so tough.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
with
I
you
like
there,
I like talking.
We got warned all day about big weather, and then big weather showed up with a whimper. Nice try, God.
Yeah, exactly. I like talking crap to God when I get a chance.
I think there's two
Where you
different
at?
things there. But the abuse that some of these weathermen take for
Yeah.
just trying to make sure people stay safe.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
I'm sorry, I was valuing your life.
Yeah. It was like last night, apparently, and we really hope everybody's okay. I haven't read anything about it, but there was apparently a tornado up in the Sherman-Denison area.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the weatherman, and he's like, hey, if you're in the Denison area,
Take cover.
Please take cover. Please take cover. There is a tornado. We have confirmed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just imagine, there are definitely people in the world, people in Denison right now, who the tornado didn't hit them. They're going, pfft,
Right.
pfft, thanks a lot. Why don't you let me know next time there's real danger?
I'm permanently scarred. I remember being a kid, and this is we didn't have cable, right? So you're watching the news reports come in about the tornado that is miles from your house, and you're watching it because it's through an antenna. You're watching on this TV in the basement, tucked into a corner, with your mom praying next to you, and the screen is flickering in and out about where that tornado is right now.
Right.
And the house is shaking because it's so close, right? I just, people that are like, oh yeah, thanks. I hope next time you ignore him and the tornado eats you. That's what I hope. Because it's ridiculous for you to go off on a weatherman for trying to protect you.
I agree with your holistic point. We're DCTF Live. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com.
Talking weather around the state of
weather
Texas.
Around the state of Texas. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We have Facebook, and we have a website. Let's get to some headlines real quick. You've started doing the roundup again, which I appreciate because
I love
that makes
it was my favorite thing when I started it, and we got way too busy in football season.
What I like about it is that it makes my job on this show super easy. You do my work for me.
My whole thing is I do this roundup in the morning. I read as much of it as I can, and what I don't get to, or at least don't get to finish, I save for lunch and get through. Honestly, we're saving you time here. If you want to know everything going on in college, high school, even a little bit of pro football around the state, here are your articles. Here's your daily brief on everything going on if you want to stay in touch with as many things around the state as possible. And hey, if I'm missing things, I want people to let me know too. If there's an area of the state that, hey, you could be looking in this one spot every day and you'd get all your RGV coverage for football, tell me. I would love to add it.
Tweet us at DCTF.
Yeah.
And get involved with the show at #DCTF Live. So, the first one, ESPN's 300 came out. Their recruiting rankings, their national recruiting rankings. And our opinion on recruiting rankings is relatively well documented, but it's fun. It's nice to see a list, and this is going to stun you, but there are a lot of Texans here. In fact, of the 344 hail from the state of Texas. The headliner, we've talked to James Lott about him, the defensive tackle from Bel Air Episcopal, Marvin Wilson, number 7. But right on his tail, a guy that you're crazy about, Jeffrey Okudah, the safety out of South Grand Prairie, comes in at number 8.
Very impressive.
Austin Decalis, the Cy-Fair tackle.
Guy we've talked about on the show as well.
He is number 14 in the nation, according to ESPN. Kerry Vincent, the cornerback out of Port Arthur Memorial, comes in at 25. And then a very high riser, a guy that James Lott's been crazy about, you and I have been crazy about for a while, finally getting some national due. Baron Browning, the linebacker out of Kennedale, comes in at number 29.
Shooting up the charts.
And then a guy we talked about just yesterday, Brock Wright, the tight end out of Cy-Fair, at number 32. Jack Anderson from Frisco, the Texas Tech commit from the guard, is number 41. Calevon Chason, Another guy we've talked about, the defensive end out of Galena Park North Shore, who had such a monster state title game. He's number 52. Grant Telpit out of Houston Lamar. Legarian Carson, your boy from Liberty Ilos, 57. LaGrange is J.K. Dobbins. Anthony Hines at number 65. Chevin Calloway, the Bishop Dunn product, the cornerback is number 70. Tylen Wallace at wide receiver is South Hills 72. Jalen Rager from Waxahachie, 75. Rounding up the top 100, you got Tyrese Robinson out of McKinney Boyd. Edward Ingram out of DeSoto. That rounds up the top 100. You can check out all 300 on ESPN.com.
And you can read about all of them in Texas Rising Magazine.
I don't have do I?
We've got to have one somewhere, right?
I have one.
I was looking behind me for mine.
Oh!
Hey, here we go.
Yeah.
Make sure you pick up your copy.
If you want to read all about these prospects and more, you can pick up Texas Football Rising. We preview the top, 100. We have more than 400 prospects in here, so you want to pick this up. All right, so that's the recruiting rankings. You can find that. Elsewhere, another bit of news from the Houston Chronicle on the great stadium wars of the 2000 teens.
I like how this has spiraled out of control. Like originally, we just heard that Katy is getting a new stadium, and not surprising. There's lots of schools. It's a growing area. It's a big time football area, and now.
So for years and years and years and years and years, and by years I mean like 3 years. Yeah. Allen has been known as the biggest, most expensive high school football stadium in the state.
Both things.
Yeah. They even though it's not the biggest, it is the most expensive, and so $59.6 million was the cost. And we knew that Katy was building a new stadium. We knew that Katy ISD Stadium was coming, and we knew it was going to be expensive. But now, Katy's second football stadium is going to be more expensive. They've added another $4.5 million to the bill. It's going to bring to $62.5 million. Apparently, that's just going to be
Allen.
That's just going to be easing traffic concerns and underground technology, and I don't know. It's probably going to have like lasers and drones.
Dear God.
What if it does? What if it's just like what if they have like holograms so that you can just watch hologram football?
I hope there is a hologram tiger that leads them out on the field every game.
That would be pretty great. $62.5 million, which is far too much to spend on a high school football stadium. Hello. Hi. Greg Tepper, person who makes his living in Texas high school football. $62.5 million is too much to spend on a high school football stadium. Quote me on that.
I do find it interesting personally. They're going to spend all that money, but it's going to hold fewer people than Allen
It will.
Stadium.
12,000 seats, a two-story field house, and 4,000 parking spots.
Which very necessary.
Well, maybe, but I don't know if you've read or if you've listened to Freakonomics podcast. I can't recommend it enough. The Freakonomics
you're a
podcast
big
is
fan,
excellent. They did a podcast about a year ago about the way that parking we've totally ruined it in this country, and that we have way too many parking spots. So whenever I see like 4,000 parking spots, I'm like, we've already got too many. Why are we getting more?
Yeah.
So, but that is according to the Houston Chronicle. Katy ISD's second football stadium now going to cost a staggering.
And here's the thing, like we both agree, a little ridiculous. Can't wait to see it.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. It's way too. Oh, I mean, these are two thoughts I can hold in my mind. Right?
Yes.
Way too much money.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty cool. Let's roll through some. Finally, let's wrap up with some coaching moves that we haven't done in about a week or so. A number of coaching moves still coming down. Baytown Sterling's Pete Guerreri has resigned after 2 seasons, so the Sterling is open. That's probably the last 6A job that's available now in the state is now Baytown Sterling. San Antonio East Central has made a hire. They have hired Joe Hubbard, who was the offensive coordinator at Garland. Of course, Clint Hartman left to take over his alma mater, or rather, he left to take over at Midland Lee, which is what opened up San Antonio East Central. Speaking of San Antonio, South San Antonio has hired San Antonio Wagner assistant Renee Maldonado. Down in the small school ranks, Slayton has hired Odessa Permian assistant and former Alpine head coach Stacy Martin to lead the Tigers. Woodville has hired Yorktown's Ty Robinson, which means that Yorktown is now open. Beckville has hired Mike Bickham. If you know that name, he's bounced around a bit out there in East Texas. Brookshire Royal, Carthage, Jasper, he had swims through all there. He is now the head coach at Beckville. Ozona has hired former Bruni head coach Kyle Freeman to take over at Ozona. Wolf City, the Wolves now have Darren Anderson, the former Rogers head coach. He's now the head coach at Wolf City. And Conan Emmons. Conan Emmons is a guy who was at Menard for a long time. And he has decided to retire. I know that he had a bunch of, I believe he had 2 sons who were seniors this past year. And so I imagine he was waiting for them to get out of school. But Conan Emmons has retired at Menard. We will have all the headlines and stuff every morning on TexasFootball.com in our roundup, which Max slaves over. He spends way too much time doing so. Make sure you check that out.
I'm a junkie, and this is an output from that.
We are DCTF Live. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football across the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF. You can like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Camels. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Camels. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. So let's talk NFL drafts, Max.
Okay.
We are I will say that we are Dave Campbell's Texas Football. We do cover every team in the state that is you can consider a varsity team. And so that does include the pro team. So we do cover the Cowboys and the Texans. We have, let's see if I can turn to it. Yeah, right here. This is our pro section. We have a page on the Cowboys. Look at that. I write the Cowboys preview, and Max writes the Texans preview.
I do. That's
so we do
right.
that. You do, yeah. But we got to wait until the draft is over before we can write that. So we do cover the Cowboys and the Texans, but we also understand that if you want NFL draft news, like real breaking news having to do with who the Cowboys are going to take or who the Texans are going to take,
We are not the place.
we can't do that. Like we can,
Well,
but
we could, but there really wouldn't be any point because there's 8 million people doing
that's
it.
exactly right. That's not our wheelhouse. You know, we
cover indie football.
We stay in our lanes. Yeah, we're really into these bands you've never heard of. But yeah, it's so if you're looking for that, you're probably barking up the wrong tree. I know there's a lot of people who are really interested in what the Cowboys and the Texans are going to do, and we will when they do draft, we will certainly report on that. But overall, I think that the NFL draft as a cottage industry, it doesn't really interest me that much altogether. We just, I don't know. When the draft rolls around, like Thursday, I'll probably tune in a little bit. I probably will. But at the same time, I can read what happened afterwards and get the same amount of satisfaction. Maybe I'm weird. Because I don't get into the drama of who's going to take who and when they actually get drafted.
Yeah, I don't care.
I'll just read after the fact.
It's like I don't watch it wrapped. It's just a thing to have on.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And it's on while I'm doing other stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that. No, I don't know. I'm the guy who I'll read who drafted whom the next day, and then I'll be able to take that kind of analysis. But the instant like hot take you've got to have as soon as they draft them just doesn't really apply to me. That's not of interest to me. But what is of interest to me is that by Saturday, because it's now Thursday is the first round, the second and third rounds are Friday night, and then Saturday is the rest of the rounds. That is when you will, by that time, there will be a lot of Texans who have been taken in the NFL draft. And you mentioned this in the roundup, that we've got that our friend Bruce Feldman at Fox Sports has made a list of 10 underrated draft prospects heading into the NFL draft, and one of them, Corey Coleman. Okay, that's not surprising. I'm surprised he's underrated because this is a guy who won the Biletnikoff Award. I know he's been banged up a little bit, but this is a guy who has proven himself to be one of the very best wide receivers in the nation, the Baylor wide receiver, of course. Corey Coleman, not surprising. The other one I thought was super duper duper interesting. The other Texan he has on his 10, on Bruce Feldman has on his 10.
There's actually 3. I was wrong. But the other one, and we'll get to the third one.
David Morgan II, the tight end from UTSA.
Marble Falls, great.
Marble Falls, a big, massive guy who I think that he's exactly right. David Morgan. The reason the reason he falls perfectly into that underrated category is, one, he plays at UTSA, which is a new program that still a lot of people, they're still kind of getting some national traction as far as that they actually exist. You know, they're a new program. The other part of it is that, frankly, UTSA wasn't very good last year or the year before that. They weren't very good, and so he kind of goes underrated. But he was arguably UTSA's best player, right? I mean, UTSA's best player was probably their tight end. That doesn't bode well for them, and that when tight end's your best player, that's probably not great. But he was probably their best player, and I think he's exactly right. I think David Morgan's going to be a steal for somebody in the NFL draft because I think he's a next level talent.
Yeah, and I thought this was really cool because I was randomly, Marble Falls is a team that I got to cover a lot in the Austin area, and in his heyday, David Morgan and his quarterback Thor Warner, one of the greatest names ever. The two of them basically carried that team, and I remember watching both of them thinking, boy, if they were on a team surrounded by a little more talent, they'd be dangerous. And sure enough, UTSA picks up Morgan, and he really is. He's one of the most underrated players in the country.
You said there was a third one. Who's the third one?
Jakeem Grant made the list.
My boy.
But that's it's weird.
We like Jakeem Grant, but he's not underrated in our minds.
He's not underrated in our minds. Neither is Corey Coleman, obviously. Yeah. And, I don't know. You look at that list and you go,
well, Jakeem Grant,
he's one of the fastest men on the planet.
Yes, he's one of the fastest men on the planet. The reason that he's underrated, I don't even have to click on Bruce Feldman's article, although you should. Absolutely. Give him those clicks. But Bruce Feldman's article, I can tell you what it says.
Yeah.
He's undersized because he's tiny.
Yeah.
He's a tiny human, but he is also one of the fastest humans on the planet. Yeah. And a guy who can absolutely flat out fly.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to grab him late, and they're going to stick him back there to return kicks and punts and be kind of that H-back, the kind of water bug running back wide receiver type guy, and they're going to be very happy because Jakeem Grant, that's the kind of thing you can't teach. You can't teach, what they say, 4.19 was his wind-aided 40.
Who knows?
There's no way he ran a 4.19 unwind-aided. But I'll tell you, if he's out there in Lubbock and he gets the wind at his back.
Sure.
Maybe.
You never know.
But
Feldman also had a just missed the cut category. Andrew Billings made that list.
Again, another guy I don't see how he's underrated.
He's
awesome. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah, he's awesome, and I think it's really just relative to the position these guys will all be drafted.
Okay.
I think that's what he's saying. The value for the draft pick with these guys. I mean, Andrew Billings. Say what you want, but the one thing that I think is really important at those defensive tackle positions that maybe gets overlooked based on production and the teams you play for and the schemes you play under, strength. And everyone, to a man, says Billings' strength is crazy.
Is out of control. Yeah, he's one of the strongest men in the world. I mean, simply put. And so he's a guy who I think is going to find himself cashing paychecks here pretty soon from the NFL.
So I was wondering about this. Who, because I guess we can include the FBS guys in Texas. Who's the highest Texan that's getting taken in this?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I'll tell you that when you're watching the NFL draft on Thursday, if you're expecting Texans to go, in the past few years we've gotten really spoiled because we've had Texans, either high school or college prospects from Texas, go in like the top 10, right? Be a top 10 draft pick. I don't know if that's happening this year.
Right.
All the mock drafts I've seen have had, top 10s that don't involve a ton of Texans. But I do think that once you get down into the kind of the back half of the NFL draft, I think you're going to see a lot of Texans who have first-round talent. For example, I think Corey Coleman's going in the first round. I mentioned him. Corey Coleman.
Josh Doxson,
I think, is going in the first round. Even with the injury, I think that he's too good of a wide receiver to let go. I think Josh Doxson probably goes in the first round. I would expect one guy that I've heard a lot of people talk really highly of, William Jackson III, the corner out of Houston.
Yeah, for sure.
This guy was, playmaking corners are hard to come by. And here you had a guy who was a legit playmaking corner who stood out on a unit with an outstanding secondary. And when you stand out among guys like Trevon Stewart, when you stand out in a secondary that's absolutely loaded, that's saying something. William Jackson III, I think, is going to be very, very, very highly touted. I think he goes in the first round. I think Jermaine Ifedi goes in the first round, the tackle from Texas A&M. Another year, another offensive lineman from A&M getting drafted. This is a guy who was fantastic coming out of high school, and now he parlay that into an excellent A&M career, and now I think he's going to get drafted in the first round somewhere. I also think, now he didn't play in Texas, but Ashawn Robinson.
Right.
Ashawn Robinson is probably going to go, and if you want to squint, he's probably the guy that has the highest variance, in the sense that I think he's definitely going in the first round, and he may fall to the
Right on the edge.
right on the edge of the first round.
Depends on the needs.
Or somebody at like 12 could be like, we're going up together.
That's just the defensive tackle we like.
Right.
Yeah.
He's the guy. And anybody who saw him play at Alabama or at Fort Worth Arlington Heights knows what a star he is. He is something else. As far as those are probably the only ones that I would imagine are getting drafted.
Well, I tell you what stands out
first
too,
round. Maybe
is
Andrew Billings again, in that same sense,
Right.
that maybe somebody says that's our guy.
Someone sees
and
him
they
as
go
a
up and-
first
and
round
they go
guy
up and
for
get
sure.
him. Yeah.
I'd say the other thing that I don't know if you've really. I mean, I get it because the news cycle is dominated by quarterback coverage.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at the list of all the quarterbacks in this draft, like the top 12. Boy, it's weird not seeing Texans.
Yeah, it is, right?
Just nowhere.
Well, and I mean, the thing is, who are the best Texans that are coming out in the NFL draft, right? It's guys who NFL are not prototypical NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, think about Trevon Boykin.
Yeah.
Trevon Boykin, not your typical, NFL quarterback. Dreyfus Jackson, whom
Right.
we love, but from Rice, but a guy who's probably not your typical NFL quarterback. So now next year. If Seth Russell stays healthy, I imagine he'll be mentioned in this regard.
Maybe. I mean, right now, I'm looking at Todd McShay's list right now. No Texans in his top 14.
Wow.
None of those guys.
But I mean, here's the other thing: is that we could, I think next year, I think somebody, maybe not as a quarterback, but I think somebody takes a shot at Greg Ward Jr. I think. Pat Mahomes probably isn't coming out, but if he does, then maybe somebody takes a late round draft pick on him. I think this is a one-time thing, but I mean, it comes down to, think about the places that typically put out big-time quarterbacks. Yeah. Baylor, they didn't graduate any quarterbacks. Tech didn't graduate any quarterbacks. Texas hasn't had a decent quarterback since Colt McCoy. A&M hasn't put out a decent quarterback since Johnny Manziel, and that's
going well.
Those are the guys. Those are the places that you expect to put out quarterbacks, and they haven't. It's been those types of places.
And we've got a state full of intriguing quarterbacks for next year. You're absolutely right. You've got your Mahomes, your Greg Ward Jr., your Seth Russell. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, Kenny Hill at TCU.
Yeah,
you've got Trevor Knight coming back to the Lone Star State to play at A&M.
Be a much different year next year, probably.
It will.
But this year, not much.
This year, the running back or the quarterback position a little light in the NFL draft for Texans. So we will have you covered on the NFL draft, I guess, as best as we can on TexasFootball.com. We'll tell you who gets drafted. Well, we treat the NFL draft like it should be treated. Like it's an event that gets covered, and then I tell you what happens.
Yeah. Why not?
We are DCTF Live. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. I got to reach the trophy. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Vince Young, please come get your Player of the Year trophy. And we will see you tomorrow on DCTF Live.